Hi,
Hey, we are live.
it's Ashley and Gus, or Gus and Ashley.
And the Couplepreneurs show,
Woohoo!
where we tell you what it's like we share what it's like to be a successful couple, what works together and are together 24/7. We own companies together, we work together 24/7. You're going to have to
I'm gonna have to move.
this way.
Oh, so I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's all right.
Our whiteboard behind us has what we're talking about today.
Today's show, we're going to talk about the 10x GrowthCon.
Yay.
And did 10x GrowthCon live up to the name? If you guys don't know, 10x GrowthCon, this was the 9th year. It's a conference. It's the largest business conference hosted in North America. It's all entrepreneurs. It's hosted by Grant. It was started by Grant Cardone at Miami Marlins Stadium.
Was that his first?
Yeah, that was his first.
Okay. I didn't know that. We weren't at the first one.
We've been to the last four.
Yeah.
Phenomenal event with 4,500. There's actually about 500 people in it.
5,000 people.
I'm sorry, 5,000 people in attendance. There's 4,500
Yeah.
people who are attendees, and about 500 people it takes about 500 people to run that event.
Does it really?
Yeah, that's a big. I mean, actually, he said it was 600.
It's nuts.
600 to set it up.
Nuts. Yeah. So it was in Hollandale Beach, Florida, at the Diplomat Hotel. It was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Right, the Diplomat Hotel, fantastic venue, right on the beach.
Really nice, just right, yeah.
We had a view of the ocean for the hours that we
for the
were.
few hours that we were actually.
The day started
room.
At 7. They started with breakfast at 7 a.m. each day and went with an after party each night till 10:30.
Yeah.
At night.
I think they actually had to end at a certain time just for the guests in the hotel not to have loud music after a certain hour, and I think there's also that thing with the turtles.
Yeah, and then we all went down. Then we all went down and networked in the bar.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So anyway, it didn't end. But it started. It started with a party the night before. Oh man, I forgot the guy's name. Matt.
Shoot.
I should have wrote it down. It started with a party from Matt.
Mac. I think it was Mac something.
Anyway.
I'm gonna look it up while Gus tells you a little bit about
that party's usually unexpected, but that's a party you go to.
It's a VIP party that's really the night before the conference starts, and it was great. I mean, we didn't know who the entertainment was in the past. It's
in Florida, DJ Khaled.
DJ Khaled, yeah. So we were like, "Ooh, who's it going to be this time?" And when you said unknown, you meant we don't know who.
We didn't know who he was.
But we don't know usually who it's going to be until we walk in.
Yeah,
we're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, Grant does that with. So just so you know, Grant, the entire conference, he doesn't announce any speaker. His staff doesn't know the speakers.
It's all a surprise to us.
I think there's about 5 people in his organization that know who's going to speak, and what we're going to talk about it. These are some big name people. In the past, he's had. People like Snoop Dogg and Tom Cruise and John Travolta and Donald Trump. These are some of the people. What's his name?
Harry Mack.
Harry Mack. That was his name.
Sorry, Harry. We got ourselves lost.
The party starts off with Harry Mack and Harry.
He's a freestyle rapper, and we weren't sure who he was, but
the party was fabulous. Yeah, he was awesome.
He was great, very creative, really sweet guy.
So then, day one.
Yes.
Day one starts with an incredible introduction, showmanship past the conferences. It's a video light. There are
basically a montage.
Spark machines, there's lasers,
pyrotechnics
and everything going on in this hall. And I want a pyrotechnic machine, or I want 12 of them. And then all the fanfare, everything happens, and they usually have a musical guest. They did not have a musical guest this year. In the past, it's been...
They usually kick it off with somebody who
Roddy Chong.
Roddy's been on there.
Who's a friend of ours. Roddy Chong has done... He's the violinist for TSO, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He had been the opening entertainment and speaker on Grant's stage. People like that. So then the conference started off with Grant.
Yeah. He just kind of walked out, and I was like, "Oh, cool!"
The place goes nuts. Grant. If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, I highly suggest you look him up. If you own a business, Grant can help you get your business to the next level.
Yeah,
he's 10x, Mr. 10x.
So Grant started the 10x movement, which is really one of his books is called The 10x Rule, and it really talks mostly about just that you need 10 times the action, 10 times the goals. Whatever your goals are, 10 times them. Whatever your actions are to achieve these goals, you're probably going to have to 10 times those too. You'll do 10 times more work, but it'll be so worth it. And anyway.
Yeah, and then
so check that out.
So Grant hypes up the people, gets everybody going, tells them don't know what to expect. It's gonna be a great show, and it is. And Grant's just a powerful guy anyway. He comes up and speaks.
He's awesome.
Anytime you're in a presence, you're learning something. Then his right hand man, Jared Glank, stepped up and talked the importance of getting involved, finding mentors, taking your life to the next level. Jared's very matter of fact. He's also a friend of ours. Ashley works with his wife, Sandy. Unfortunately, we didn't see Sandy at this event.
It was so fun.
Sandy's disappointed. We're disappointed.
We saw photos of her, but we didn't get to actually connect. Yeah. So I realized I should have been more intentional and let's meet at this time and place. But I kept thinking I was going to bump into her, and we didn't. But that's okay.
Grant's first guest outside of outside the company was Tucker Carlson. Tucker was there. He's starting a new network, TCN, Tucker Carlson Network.
It's hard to say that. TCN is easier to say.
But he said, but he was very
he was funny.
He was funny. He was
relaxed.
Engaging. He laughed his ass off at himself.
He was giggling at himself.
And he had an oddball laugh, but it was
but it was adorable.
But it was entertaining.
And And I mean, it talked about. So it was an interview with Grant, and he was basically talking about where he started off, how he got
fired from every job,
where he grew up, and and talked about his career and some of the things that he learned along the way. And where he's headed now. So, it was actually interesting and fun to kind of get to know him as a person.
Yeah, and he was talking about,
he was very engaging.
He was talking about living the American dream and how we have this great country to live the dream. And he was, he talked about he and Grant had spent some time living in San Diego.
Yeah,
not just California, but San Diego and in La Jolla.
Tucker grew up there. And
if you've not been to San Diego, or if you're in San Diego, especially if you're in La Jolla,
it's beautiful.
It's almost not reality. And Grant and Tucker both talked about that because it's perfect weather every day and sunny, and the ocean's there. And
it's almost like the people who live there don't work as hard because
we've heard that from our
we've heard that from people that it's so beautiful. That it's probably just really easy to get lured away and go do something.
But it's also somewhat boring. They were saying
Tucker was saying how he had he'd come back to the San Diego area for a conference or a speaking engagement, and when he asked the driver, so what's going on here, the driver then gave him basically a weather report for what it had been like and what it was going to be like, and he's like, "This is what's new."
The weather report is 75 to 81 degrees.
Yeah, so that's the high and the low, and it's probably going to be sunny. So it's almost a joke.
But then he said, you live the American dream and you make money, and then what do you do with your money? And this is something we talk about often, like giving. Everybody wants to give back at the end of the day. He says, so you get all this money and you have French toast at the Four Seasons. Well, you can't live your whole life having French toast at the Four Seasons every day. And you can't do it every day. Right. And you have to have a bigger purpose and do something more in your life. He also talked about, I don't know if he's the only one, he's one of the few Americans that interview Vladimir Putin, right?
That is correct.
And he said, Grant didn't ask him this, he volunteered this information. He said the most surprising thing was when he interviewed Putin was how clean Moscow was. And he said it in a way that he was disappointed that America didn't have major cities as clean as Moscow.
Yeah. And
we should be more proud.
Yeah.
Being an American.
I think he kind of felt like we've really, some of our major cities, we've let ourselves down or we've lowered the bar.
Right.
But anyway. But yeah, apparently
second speaker
was I guess Scarlett Cardone.
Yeah.
All of 12.
Maybe she's 12. She's Grant's daughter.
She was incredibly poised, great presentation. She really talked about your friends, like who are your friends and why are they your friends, and are you going along with them because you want them to like you, or are they supportive of you when you maybe when you disagree?
Are you trying to fit into their mold?
And you're trying to fit into them. And what she realized
It's a 12-year-old.
I just need to be me, and they're either going to like me or they're not. I can't worry about that. And again, I mean, to have that
wisdom
at that age is she'll be fine.
Then
she'll do well in life.
We had the powerhouse leader expertise, John Maxwell,
the absolute legend, John Maxwell.
Now I thought I had all John Maxwell's books, and John said he had I thought I had
90.
Yeah, I have 8.
Yeah, okay.
I thought he had.
He's written. He's 77 years old.
Yeah,
and he's written over 90 books, and I think he's got one or 2 or 3 in the hopper. I mean, he was
anyway, powerhouse but leader. You talked about how no one's a born leader. You have to practice and be a leader. You have to be.
You always have to improve where you are. You always have to learn.
And and to be a great leader, you need a mentor.
Right. Getting older is automatic. Getting better needs a plan.
Yes,
I like that. It's an intention. I took a bunch of notes too, and I'm not even looking at them.
Yeah, and then he said we have to stop producing Pop-Tart leaders and stop Pop-Tart leaders. Stop microwaving them. And you have to start crock-potting leaders.
Crock-potting leaders. Yes, we need leaders who are steeped in slow cooked. Learn over a long period of time, instead of trying to do we need a 2-week leadership boot camp for these people who are going to come in. And that's what he meant by microwaving leaders or Pop-Tart leaders.
Our next guest on day 1 was Brandon Dawson. Brandon Dawson is Grant's business partner in Cardone Ventures. He is a scaling expert. He can take a business from $1 million to $125 million and show you how to do it. We work with Brandon and his team. He has this method of break points in your business.
Yep.
And he goes through that. And he was talking about those break points. We have seen it now probably a dozen times, and it never disappoints. Yeah, it never gets old.
I always hear something I didn't hear before, or something that I did hear before that just really sticks. So that was fabulous, and really the just beautiful moment. You weren't in the room at the time, but John Maxwell came out while Brandon was speaking. And Brandon, so one of the things that John Maxwell said, he said Brandon is one of the few people that he's worked with that was his student and has done taken all of the ideas of John's books and actually applied them.
Yeah.
So John was very grateful to Brandon. There was a very teary moment where John gave him the note cards from one of his first one of the first times that Brandon had heard him present. It was beautiful. I was crying. Everybody was crying. So anyway, then our next moment was really exciting. They shut the lights down and turned them back on with the stage with Pete Vargas, who led the game show for the Great American Speak Off. Yeah. So over the course of how many months? Maybe
30,000 people.
Okay,
applied to be the Great American Speaker, and 30,000 people, and they whittled it down to 4.
Maybe 5. There were 5. I think there were 5 people who came out and spoke.
They whittled it down to 5.
It was,
and they did a 2 minute.
They only had 2 minutes each to do their presentation.
Now, a professional speaker leads with a story, draws you in, pulls on your heartstrings, gets you involved in their problem,
right, and then usually leaves you
with a solution, inspired, and action, next steps, and call to action. Yeah. So these 5 people spoke. There was one clear leader.
Yeah, there was one guy who just brought the house down.
But Grant called him a preacher. And
yeah, he kind of was like, I'm not agreeing with that. But as Jesse Itzler, one of the judges, pointed out, he won the crowd.
Yes,
And that was
that's
what the
what
whole
counts.
game show or game was about. So, it was very cool.
And this is now at this point we're in the afternoon of the first day.
Yeah, it's maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock.
And out comes Tyler Perry. Man, what a powerhouse.
Holy smokes, he was amazing. Another interview, which was fantastic. And again, it was just learning more about Tyler Perry, where he started off in life, the things he saw, what shaped him as a youngster, and then how he really put his head down with major tenacity to reach the level of success that he has now. And he has an exceptional level of success. So, it was really great to have. Interestingly, can I point out that the two speakers on the bookends there were both 54 years old.
That's interesting.
Tucker Carlson and Tyler Perry.
Yes, that's 54. Interesting. I'm going to have you take a step just to the right, just a second.
Okay.
There you go.
There.
Keep us more centered. Anyway.
Good to know that I'm centered.
Day one, we had about an hour or so break,
man.
and then we had a party.
Gus and I took a nap.
Not very long, half hour.
No, we lied down for we were baked. And who was the party entertainment?
Busta Rhymes.
Woo!
Now,
that was pretty cool.
I knew Busta Rhymes' music and stuff, but I didn't realize he's like one of the world's fastest rappers. Yeah. 12.8 syllables per second. I looked this up afterwards.
We had to look it up afterwards. We're like, man,
I got video. I got video on. I got a short YouTube video on it if you want to check it out. But he's fast. He spits words and syllables.
It was fun. He was great.
The party was great. We're hanging out. This was this was for the Diamond and Premier players. So everybody in that party had spent
a couple bucks
upwards of $3,000 to be there at that party.
It was a good party.
It was a good party.
The
food was phenomenal.
Yeah,
top shelf liquor.
Weather was excellent
and great. There's probably about 2,000 of us at that party.
Probably.
And just a great networking opportunity.
Extremely well executed.
We had to hang out with the Cardone people, and it was just a good time.
Always.
Day two starts off. Now, I had breakfasts every day that were.
We didn't go to one of the breakfasts on day two.
We didn't go to one of the breakfasts, but going to the breakfast.
But we did on.
It's an info.
It's usually kind of an infomercial.
Infomercial.
But it's usually it's great. You learn stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
And we usually spend money. So anyway, day two.
Holy smokes! Blue.
Drop the mic. Mr. Mike Tyson comes out.
Yes.
Oh my God, Mike Tyson was unbelievable.
Another interview with Grant, and it was just, again, just amazing to hear about his early life and who he
didn't have it easy growing up.
Who he met, who he needed to meet, who brought him to help him get to where he is today, and it felt like no question was off limits, but it was just a very. It was just a very
my
telling...
favorite question to Mike Tyson. Now it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite part of the interview, but my favorite question. I actually said no question.
What does an ear taste like?
Yeah, that was from Grant's daughter.
Yeah, and honestly, if you have the opportunity to ask Mike Tyson a question, that's not a bad one.
And Mike laughed.
Oh, he thought it was.
He thought it was great. He thought it was great.
Thought it was super. So after Mike,
we had Elena Cardone.
Was Elena Cardone?
Grant's
wife, beautiful and incredibly smart and talented wife.
And we had time. We didn't mention this. We actually had time. We got about 15 minutes with Elena the night before the event. We got a chance to talk to her.
Chat with her.
We had been to her events, and she remembered us, and we got some pictures. And it was fun.
She
has a great book called. It's actually in the comments below. Called "Building Your Empire." It's a book I always put on here.
You know what?
It's kind of funny.
It's interesting. I probably recommend Elena's book more than I recommend Grant's, and it's not
for a couple. For a couplepreneur.
For couples or for women who are looking for men.
Yeah, if you're a woman looking...
I hear so many women are like, I'm ready for a guy. And I'm like, okay, you got to read this book.
If you're a woman and you're serious about, you're like, hey, I'm ready to settle down.
Relationship, this is a good book to read. And it's good for men too, because it really centers you about what you're really looking for and don't settle. Our next
guest was Don Peebles.
Awesome. Another interview,
and I'm just going to mention he's Black, and the only reason I'm saying that is he's one of the most successful Black developers in the world. He's developed a lot of land and that's about breaking barriers, getting forward, and moving to the next level. But he's developed a lot of Washington D.C. and he's working on a new project to build the largest skyscraper in North America
in Manhattan.
Called the Aspire Tower.
Oh, I'm glad you wrote that. That's why I was pulling out.
Yeah,
my
the
phone.
Aspire Tower.
Like, what is it?
He's brought a team of Black entrepreneurs together to build this. A lot of
diverse businesses coming together to build this.
He's a billionaire who has had tremendous success,
amazing.
And everything. I'm not going to say everything touches turns to gold, but
he's getting there.
He's learned over the years. Yes, so yeah,
that's very cool.
Next
person was NFL great Ray Lewis. That was another interview, I think, with Grant, and was awesome.
Right.
Just got another opportunity to learn from somebody who had excelled so much in his in his NFL days, and learn what he's doing now. So we should probably start putting the speeder on this, because we got more people to talk about.
Next.
So the next speaker,
one of Ashley's favorites.
I have to tell you, I was so charmed by this young man.
If I was in her date, she might have been going home with him.
I don't know, no.
I don't know.
He's happily married, and I am too. But it was Michael Chandler. He's an MMA fighter, and I have to tell you, we had heard Dana White was at last year's event, and he's the founder or the guy who runs or owns. Okay, sorry, I don't know much about this. I don't like watching people fight, but I really don't like watching people fight. Anyway, he was amazing, and he yelled something out about being from High Ridge, Missouri, which freaked me out because it's like 70 miles outside of St. Louis, which is where I grew up. And I actually got my very first pair of cowboy boots.
I'm going to let you handle this for a second.
Missouri. Okay, Gus is going to get a tissue out. I tell you more about how absolutely sweet. I had the opportunity to meet Michael later in the hotel lobby and get a photo with him. So follow me and you'll see that photo. Such a nice guy. I'm rooting for him. He's fighting Conor McGregor.
Yes, well, very good, dear.
Hey, okay. I don't think I'll be able to watch it because that looks just ugly. But I'm rooting for Michael. That's it. So the next speaker was Grant's other daughter, his older daughter, Sabrina Cardone, and she came out and spoke to give her own presentation. And again, incredibly poised, incredibly grown. I feel like in the 4 years that we've been going to this event,
she's so poised. She's such a great speaker.
Grow up, and young women, really, and she was just amazing. So, way to go, Sabrina.
Then next speaker
kind of unexpected.
Anthony Scaramucci, the Mooch. They call him the Mooch. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about him, and I was pleasantly surprised. First of all, he came off as extremely intelligent.
He is. I don't think you get to do that if you're not.
I mean, he went undergrad school did he go to?
He went.
But they pulled him you need to be here, and then he went to
Harvard.
He
ended up at Harvard Law.
He ended up at Harvard Law, and then right to Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
I mean, they recruited him and right to Goldman Sachs, and then
do that for the dummies.
And he's tremendously successful. I forget how many billions, hundreds of billions of dollars he's traded. He was talking about it. Anyway,
I mean, it was again really great to hear about his growing up.
And the best part, the funny thing, every one of these guys, every person on the stage, every woman, every guy on the stage, they were successful. And this was like Grant. And every one of them had some adverse reactions in their life. So Scaramucci, how many days was he working for Trump when he got fired?
I think it was 12 or 14.
And Grant was like, we're not going to talk about that. The Mooch was like, no. We are going to talk about it.
Yeah,
I want to tell my story. And he's like, it sucked. It was terrible. Yeah. It was brutal. My kids were giving me crap about it.
But it's also a story of resilience.
Yes.
I mean, he had to bounce back from that. And absolutely, if there were one common theme on every single speaker that we met, nobody had it easy.
Yeah.
Nobody's hit, it's been an easy street the whole time. No. Everybody had something, and his story was no different.
And then
it was really very interesting.
Final speaker of day two, was Bob Dugan. Bob Duggan.
Okay.
I was not familiar with this gentleman. Another developer, multi-billionaire. He's given a lot to his church. He just talking about
possibility,
and how big
and opportunity, and just how much is out there in the world. And another theme that he said,
he was in his 80s too.
I know, which was crazy. But another thing that he had said was just like, be kind to each other.
Yeah.
Like that we have to. We're a broken world right now.
Yeah, he did talk about that.
He was really focused on like human kindness. Like we need to be nicer to each other, guys. Otherwise, this is just never going to work. So
the next presentation was awesome. 10x Health. 10x Health.
No, we didn't mention Tim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which was really one of the most impactful
Day
presentations.
3, number one.
First speaker.
Tim Grover.
Wow. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
If you don't know who he is, he was the coach to both Kobe and Michael Jordan.
Kobe Bryant. If you don't know.
Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and
talk about somebody who's helping to bring excellence out in people.
Resilience. Wow. He talked about your heartbeat.
Yeah,
and every second, you have one less heartbeat.
You don't, and it was really he made us stand up at the end and touch our hearts and feel our heartbeats, and just kind of reminded us like, you don't know how many of those you have left, so make sure they count.
Yep, you just lost one. You lost one. You lost another one. You lost another one.
Yeah, so get focused on what's really important and get on it. So that's pretty awesome.
10x Health. 10x Health has a new test, and they have a patent on it.
It's a swab.
Yeah,
it's a cheek swab.
DNA gene test.
So they take your DNA. I moved over again, didn't I? I'll scoot over.
Basically,
it's supposed to help us stay centered.
Through this test, they can tell which foods you should be eating with vitamins, and it can create a vitamin nutrient package once a day to your DNA.
So
they even said if you had an identical twin, it's highly likely that the package would be different for both of you.
Different. So it's based on your DNA, and they use a precision method to create this packet that's simply an only.
And they have one lab in the world that can do this,
which is amazing.
But this company, 10x Health, was started, I believe, 3 years ago, and
we were at that GrowthCon.
And the big move they made is just it's going to be a game changer. In fact, they just sponsored a NASCAR this past weekend. I think they're sponsoring another one later this month.
So anyway,
Marissa Straight was the third speaker of the day. She has an online learning platform. We don't know much about her. I had a scheduled call.
You had to run out for something, and I had to run out for something. So apologies to Marissa that we didn't get to hear all of her presentation, but yes.
Fourth speaker of the day.
Next was
crowd favorite.
Oh, one of them, Peyton Manning.
He was awesome.
It was great. It was another interview with Grant, and just getting an idea of. I mean,
he only talked football, which was great.
Well, but obviously it's been a very big part of his life. But
behind the scenes stuff of football.
I mean, his dad was a coach, and then his brother was also, is a player. So
I think his dad was a player also.
He was. Yeah. So like having that kind of family history and talking about that and growing up with that filter, it was pretty awesome. So,
and interestingly, Ray Lewis, Peyton Manning said the guy who hit him the hardest was Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
so
he said around the same time.
They played in the league at the same time. And he said no one was happier than me the day Ray Lewis retired.
Yeah,
but they're good friends today.
Sure, I'm sure at the time that was So that was fun. Next on the docket was Pete and John Najarian, who are ex-NFL players, and they are on CNBC, and they own Najarian Advisors. It's a company advising institutional investors.
They play at the big league.
Very big.
Big league. Most of us don't have access to the funds they play in, and they're trying to change that game. They were saying even if you're a lawyer and a doctor in this country, you don't have the kind of money that you need to be in these institutional funds.
With these, so
they're looking to create more funds that are institutional and play at a bigger
so that level. We average Joes can jump in on stuff like that.
Right. So then that brought us up to a couple more Cardone stuff, but then the final guest of the third day
Brought
and the
the house
final
down.
guest of the conference.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Let me tell you.
Wow.
He brought it.
He did. And it was another interview with Grant, and just amazing.
That interview, though, Grant would throw a question,
Well, I was
and then
gonna say,
Arnold would go off.
Arnold just went, yeah.
He went off.
It was less of an interview and more of a and Grant, with most of the speakers, said, I have a list of questions and I haven't even started on them yet, and the interview's over. But that's okay. Yeah, he was terrific. Again, learning about his early days.
He was wealthy.
Coming to the United States completely broke.
He had 3 goals.
He did. He wanted
to be the guy in the world with the biggest muscles.
Right.
He wanted to be a Hollywood movie star, and he wanted to make millions of dollars.
Okay.
And he accomplished all that, and he said, "Thank you to America for giving him this opportunity."
Absolutely, because he knew that wasn't going to happen.
Maybe my most impressive thing with Arnold was he was living in California, and they had to have a re-election, and he did not like the way a special election, yeah. And he didn't like the way
the state was
being run. So he's like, "I'm going to be governor."
And he announced that on Jay Leno.
He announced it on Jay Leno, and 3 months later, he was in office, and he made some big changes. And he did. I mean, he's a guy. He ran as a Republican. I don't necessarily know that he's a hardcore Republican. He just had an opportunity to get into the office, and he did it.
Yep.
And he made a difference in California at
Absolutely.
the time. When you look back and look at his accomplishment, he did really well.
Made an impact.
But then his drive.
Yeah, his drive, his determination, his discipline. And then again, just kind of understand and his grace. So my favorite was, and I think Gus's too. Was it when he was governor or when he was campaigning?
He was campaigning for governor.
So he's campaigning for governor. He had an appearance somewhere, and
he's on the podium.
Somebody threw an egg at him, and it hit his shoulder and got on his jacket. So it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean,
it was already popular.
He could probably tear you apart, right? I mean, yikes. So he just kind of brushed it off, finished what he was doing, and then later said to the guy, "Hey, you owe me bacon."
Yeah, you owe me bacon. He also did.
That's grace. That's handling something with grace. So.
He also did. He joked about his good buddy Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my God, he was doing.
So Grant asked me. He said, "Well, how'd you find out that Sly was moving to Florida?" He said, "Well, Sly told me." Florida. So and he did it like 3 times.
You guys are so bad. But no, he was funny, he was charming, he was entertaining, and again, he came forward with the message like, be nice to each other.
The other thing that most people, and this is from his mouth, most people don't know, he was already wealthy before he went to Hollywood.
Right.
He had made money. He had made money in real estate.
So when he was, and he did that on purpose because he didn't want to just take any part that was offered. He wanted to know that he had some financial stability, that he could say no to some of the scripts that were coming his way. So he got actually involved in real estate and invested in some multifamily apartment buildings and stuff very, very early in his career by saving every penny that he had.
He should put it in his boots, he said.
And he kept his money in his boot. And he talked about that. And it was great to hear him talk about that experience and what that afforded him in terms of options later in his career. So, And then at the very end, the finale, Grant came out with the team, and he brought up folks on stage who came the furthest. Traveled the furthest to be at the event, and of course, in the process of doing that, a gentleman, I don't remember where he was from, but he said, "Could you please ask my girlfriend to come up?" And
he said his wife, actually.
I thought he said girlfriend,
anyway. She's part of this. He said she's part of the success.
Yeah, she's part of my success. Can you ask her to please come up to the stage? And then as soon as she came up, the guy dropped on one knee and proposed, and of course the place went completely.
Yeah, it was completely unscripted.
I couldn't tell because I was crying because I do that when people do that. So anyway. Biggest takeaways?
Oh man, just go for it. Just you have to play bigger. You're going to have failure. Keep going past it. You?
Yeah, I would say it was just the inspiration reset that I needed to remind myself that sometimes when things get hard, you just got to push a little harder, get more action, be more active, massive action. But it was also about being kind. It was also hearing like we're in this together. Let's be nice to each other. We don't have to step on each other to get to our next level of success.
Yes.
So that was my biggest takeaway.
All right.
For sure.
Next week on this show,
what? We have guests.
We have guests.
I'm so
We have
excited.
another power couple.
Another 10x couple. We met them through the 10x community.
Not recently. We've known them for years.
We've known them for a while.
But
We're really excited.
They're going to be our first guest on this show, and we're super excited.
Gus has to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, we might have to. We had Dave tonight. I didn't tell him. Right before we came on, our internet went out.
Shut down.
Like what?
What's up with that? So
yeah.
Anyway. So thanks for joining us today. Do you want to tell them who it's going to be? Or
no.
Okay, it's going
to
be
tease
a surprise.
It out. I'm going to put an
Next
announcement out tomorrow.
Tuesday at 6:30, join us for another power couple, and we'll see you then.
Yes.